after they know the signs, the other guy was like, well, brother, it's very hard to show the numbers if something is better than that or worse than that with these signs, because are we going to use this all the time? And some smart guy came up with an idea, and he said that that's very stupid, man. Let's try to have some line. And the other guy was that, what the hell we're going to use the line for? And he's like, let me show you. It was like, imagine those numbers are in this line. Okay, those numbers are in this line. So if we are saying that one is worse than two, let's put one here, and it is worse than two. So it's if something is worse than the other, put the better thing on the right side. So he was like, okay, put two here. With the same logic, they put three here, they put four here, they put five here, and they went up to infinity because they wanted to have infinite number of apples because they were very, very hungry. Okay. Then the other guy was like, then if this is a line, what the hell is happening on this side of the line, right? And the guy was like, what do you mean? Here we have zero apples. We don't have any apple. And the guy was like, okay, what is on this side of the zero, on the left side? What are the things that having no apple, right? If I don't have any apple, what's worse than that, right? So the guy was like, you know what? The worst thing than having two apples is having a debt of apple, okay? It's the case where I don't have an apple, but I have to give you one apple. I don't have any, but I still have to give you one. So what do I call it? I have to give it one. So I don't have it one. I don't have that, but I have to give it to you. So let's call it one again. The other guy was like, what if I have to give you two apples? It's worse than giving you one apple, right? Let's call it here because it's worse than giving one apple. So it's worse than giving three apple, right? Giving three apple is worse than giving two apples. Giving four apple is worse than giving uh three apple. Giving five apples is worse than giving four apples. So it is the apples that I have to give to someone. I have to give to someone, and those are the apples that I already have them. I have them. Okay. And then some guy said that, well, you are writing one to the right side, you are writing one to the left side. I'm confused. Can you change it? And the guy was like, let's put these signs to those numbers so that we know that when there is this sign, this is a very bad thing because this sign means that I have to give those apples, right? This is a very bad thing. Because it was bad thing, they call it negative. So that's why we have negative numbers. Very good. We got negative numbers now, we got positive numbers, and we got nothing, which is zero. So then there were some other guys, and they were like, okay, I understand what you're going for, but shall we give names for these type of numbers? And they were like, what do you mean by that, brother? And he was like, let's call these all of these positive numbers because they were normal things, right? They were normal numbers. Let's call them normal numbers. Normal numbers. But then they were other cavemen. They said that what the hell is normal number, man? It doesn't look natural. It doesn't look natural. It doesn't sound natural to me. And then one guy said that, why we don't call it just naturals? And that's how they came up with natural numbers, because those are the numbers that were representing Apple. Where can we find Apple at? We can find it at nature. That's why they call it natural numbers, right? Perfect. But they were like, there are some other numbers as well. What if I have one apple and I also have another apple, but this is this kind of apple. So I have one apple here. Okay. And I had another apple, but someone ate half of it. What kind of apple is this? And he was like, let's call it half apple. So in this case, I have one apple and half apple. So I have one apple and half apple. Let's put it here. So it would be, they call it one and half, 1 point half. They put this, point sign so that they know that it's not 2, it's not 15, it's something in between 1 and 2 because I have one apple for sure and then I have half apple. So they call it 1.5 apple. What if I have to give you one apple and I have to give you half apple? So this would be negative 1.5. They were very smart people, you see? Then some guy said that, well, these half things are not really the same with the real full apples. Can we separate the understanding of full apples and half apples, or maybe half of the half apples? So half apple is this much, and there is a half of the half apple, the half of this guy, right? Half of this guy. Maybe this is half of half. So half was 1/2 because there was one and they had half of it. What is half of that? So 1/2 over 2. So they were like, what if we call it just 1/4? Because it's very hard to write it 1/2 over 2. It's maybe it's 1/4. What does it mean? It means that I have an apple, I have half of apple, I have half of that apple. So this much of apple I have. Okay. If this whole apple was one, how much is this apple? This apple is 1/4 of it. Why 1/4? Because there are four of that. You see, one, two, three, four. How much do I have? Only one of them. I have one of them out of how many? Out of four. I have one little apple piece out of four pieces. Or maybe I have, let's say, I have this one little piece. Let's make it two little pieces. I have two little pieces out of one, two, three, four, five, six, out of three little pieces. So then they came up with fractions. They called it fractions. And one guy was that these fraction thing and like point 0.5, that kind of numbers, they look weirder. They look different than those whole numbers, right? So we should give those whole numbers a new name for. And the guy was like, "What the hell? Again, a new name for the every new thing? We gotta give a new name." And I was like, "Yes. Why? Because life is unfair." And they decided to give a new name for this uh whole numbers. They call this new name as integer. So integers are the numbers that are whole. So they are either I have to give you 10 apples because I have to give it. That's why it's negative. It's a bad thing. It's a negative thing. That's why we call it negative number. Or I have to give you 9 apples. I have to give you 8 apples. I have to give you 7 apples. Ba 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 ba. I don't have to give you anything. That's why it's 0 apple. Or I have one apple, I have two apple, I have three apple, blah, 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 blah. Okay? And it doesn't start from -1. It starts from negative infinity. I have to give you everything, everybody. Okay? Very good. So these numbers, these whole numbers, including zero, they call integers, right? And what was the naturals? Naturals was the number of apples that I usually have. I just have. So naturals are the numbers that I have. So, but whole numbers again. That's it. That's how they came up with integers.